Before we start, guys, I wanted to let you know, while I was waiting for you here at the Sydney Harbour Beach in the Opera House, a man came up to me and said, "Hey, can I have a photo?" I went, "Of course you can." He went, "I made of me in front of the Opera House." So I wanted you to know that the ego is well and truly out of control.
Hello, darkness, my old
And
friend.
did you do the selfie and not do the photo for him?
No, I took it, I put my arm around him. Anyway, Oscar Willis for TheMacLife.com here with Dennis, and I guess from Casper, it's still technically Submission Radio.
Well,
I love the technicalities.
The boys are back. It's Sydney. You wouldn't be looking at the Opera House right now, except the lighting's wrong, and I didn't even think about it until we got started. So instead, you see the lovely Harbour Bridge behind us. But we are here for UFC 325. That guy's got worse fucking gyno than I do. Here for UFC 325. We got Alexander Volkanovski versus Diego Lopes 2. And Dennis, you've been here on the ground. Oh, actually, no, you haven't. You only got it yesterday.
I've been in spirit like a little horse.
I've been here on the ground all week, and it has been, I have to say, for a pay-per-view, a very chill week. Not a lot of beef on the card. The press conference was very happy, clappy. The fans were in good voice.
The beef was on the street. There was a lot of beef.
The fighters were great. From watching from afar before arriving yesterday, what was your two reads on it? We'll start with you, Dennis. What do you think about Fight Week?
I think it's just cool to have Volk back in Sydney, but yeah, it's just a week after Paramount's first card. And, you know, all of us saw online, people are excited to have him here, but with Diego Lopes being the rematch, I think they're just a little bit not that pumped about the fight, only 10 months ago. I think if anything, like Dan Hooker being here has really pumped up the crowd at the press conference, the weigh-in and that kind of stuff. And Volk just being here makes people happy, but yeah, not the biggest vibes, I guess.
I still think it's kind of wild because I was so sure, and you were there, Cass, as well, but I was so sure that maybe we'd get a redo of Perth where it felt like UFC City. You know, like where everyone you went, people recognised us a lot. That's why I remember it so well.
It's like heroin, right? We're always chasing that fight week and it's never going to hit.
But it just doesn't seem to ever quite live up to the amount of people that flew in for it. Now, obviously, I think that was first one out of COVID, so there was demand and stuff. But why do you think maybe they can't quite get to that? And maybe Sydney's a bigger city, I don't know. But why do you think maybe they're still not quite there yet?
I think with Perth, it was like the first time in a long time where everybody was starved for it, and like especially after COVID, people were kind of celebrating the fact that like finally things are getting back to normal. Finally, we've got a UFC event. Also, Volkanovski versus Makhachev was a massive fight. There was so much interest, whereas here there just isn't. This is a criminal fight. We are wasting the last few maybe years, maybe months of Alex Volkanovski's, not even prime, tail end of the career. This is a stupid fight. It's the fight that nobody asked
Passionate.
for. Having said
swinging, coming out
this
swinging.
Is what happens when you're away for months and months and months and a year and a half. It's all bottled up. I've got grievances and everyone's going to hear about it. All right? Yeah. This should have been Lerone Murphy. That was the fight that should have happened.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Lerone doesn't have the name value that Diego Lopes has, but it would have been a much more intriguing, much more compelling fight. I will say that this though. Now that we're here, it is going to be a fun fight while it lasts. It's going to be fun, it's going to be entertaining, and this won't necessarily do a lot for Alex Volkanovski's legacy, but it will be potentially a moment for Alex Volkanovski getting this massive fight in his hometown.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shit one. Like, now, Casper's on the ball. You know what I love about it? Because you've been a little bit out of the game, so it's a good perspective to have. But like, it's a bit of a shit one for Volk, right? He beats, I have him probably beating Lopes over 5 rounds. I don't have him stopping him or anything. So if he beats him again like that, what does he really gain? And then if he loses, like to Casper's point, that would probably be his last fight. So it's,
I get it, but for me, so I believe, listen, I'm sort of speculating here, but also not really speculating, that when the UFC sort of pitched this fight to him, they were like, listen, out of the 3 guys you could realistically face, Diego, Lerone, and Mobzar, the one that's going to give the crowd the most fun will be the Lopes fight. And as to your point, now we're here, it's going to be a banger. The first fight was a great fight. And I think Mobzar, that's a 5-round grappling expedition. That's still going to be very exciting to see if Volk can pull it off against the young guy, this new generation, undefeated guy. Of course, there's stakes in that. But as a spectacle, with the crowd screaming and stuff like that, I don't know if that one is up to it. And then Lerone has exciting fights sometimes, but sometimes also has very point-heavy, like 5-rounders that go the distance with a lot of technicality, whereas Lopes is going to come out swinging. So I think for a moment that Volk could look back on at the end of his career, this one is the one that supplies that. The actual I was going to say dark horse, but then it sounds racist. But the actual guy that I would have maybe liked to see was Aljamain Sterling slopped in here. Because I think, former bantamweight champion, I'm going to cut out the dark horse bit, like the former bantamweight champion.
Aussies love an international fighter.
I just think that, and he, Aljo kind of plays up to the spotlight a little bit. That would have been the one I would have seen fitting here as a legacy fight. That maybe doesn't make sense. But hey, we're here with Diego.
I was going to say, it's one of those moments where, there's a difference between how, say, Volk and the team will remember it versus how, say, Wikipedia and, everything will look on paper. If he gets a big win here in his home crowd, this is the kind of thing that you can see in the Volkanovski household, a big poster, a big picture in the Hall of Fame room. Man, remember when I did it in front of the home crowd? That means a lot to me here in my heart. Whereas when people look back at Volk's career, 10, 20, 30 years, and they compare him to the other guys, and they look through the records, and they're like, okay, Diego Lopes twice. It's just not going to have the same sentimentality as, say, bam, he beat Mossad, or bam, he beat Lerone Murphy.
It's one of those morning after situations. If you sleep with
I'm laughing because there's a security guard standing right us from 3 feet away.
You love this.
Do you want to jump it in?
Just before you say anything.
What?
This is a photo. An animated photo.
Yeah.
What's up?
Okay, yeah, gotcha. This is for grandma back at home.
Yeah.
We're just doing a little video travel blog.
Yeah. It's just for fun. No one's going to see this.
Yeah.
We're all messed up.
Yeah.
Listen to this scenario, because on Sunday, Alex, I'll come into the video for a second. Come in. The animated photo. Alex Volkanovski's fighting Diego Lopes again. No one's excited about it. My comparison is if somebody slept with an ugly dude, the next morning has a nice personality and a big dick, you know what I mean? And it's this next morning situation where after the fight, I think people are really going to appreciate this Diego Lopes more.
And that's relatable.
Yeah, for sure. So the co-main event, Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Obviously, look. Yeah, well, we could cut you out. I think. Yeah. She's a very lovely lady.
Grandma's watching.
Dan Hooker versus Benoit Saint-Denis. Obviously, everyone looks at this fight. Dan looks at this fight. Benoit looks at this fight as a violent 3-round bloody war. I don't think Dan Hooker can really do much. Win or lose, he has to be in a violent fight. We always say we're going to the hospital regardless if he wins or loses.
I like
so
how
when you look
wore down the security.
All you have to do is just test
it. She came in to tell us to fuck off and pack up shop, and then she just left going I don't want any part of this.
Yes.
I'm gonna leave.
When you start bringing up big dicks, it's a real roll of the dice situation, but I think he pulled it off.
Yeah, I've seen one on the internet.
Oh yeah, certainly not in your pants. So we got Benoit and Dan Hooker. When you look at this fight, I feel like Dan's come in and sort of been like, fuck it, I don't care anymore, and I think that's taken a lot of pressure off him. Do you feel the same way?
Yeah, I spoke to him and he said something that was alarming a couple of days ago about the fight, which was that he expects BSD to stand with him and not really take him down. And I'm like, dude, this is a different BSD. I imagine under to the roofie fight, he will at least attempt to take down. And I don't think anyone's stupid enough just to stand with Dan a distance and cop the shots. Now, I'm sure that BSD will be happy because he's an absolute nutter and the Lord of War, whatever, to stand there and have a battle. But he will absolutely.
It's God of War.
Yeah, but after all this, God of War. But after everything that's happened,
deities, whatever.
Yeah, he's something. But anyway,
Lord, yeah, I guess.
He's got a lot on the line here after all the shit that he got after that losing streak and the performances. I think he's going to go out there and try to make it as technical and clean for himself as possible. So I think Dan was just fucking around. But if he just expects a standing war, then a lot of people might be a bit disappointed come Sydney this weekend.
And for you?
I think the good thing about Dan is his whole career and legacy, it's not going to be remembered as he was the guy that was necessarily champion, but he was always in the hunt, he was always in the chase, and he's just a fun guy. He's won people over for his style, he's just hilariousness. So the title isn't necessary to his legacy and career. And he's had this weird thing where the UFC keep trying to feed him to guys, as the perception is. Michael Chandler came into the UFC, they're we'll give him Dan Hooker to build him. Islam Makhachev was on a tear, and they're we'll give him Dan Hooker and see we'll try and build him up. Armin, even recently, Mateusz Gamrot had that feeling as well. But the good thing about that with Dan is if he beats these guys, he derails their hype train, and then he takes them back in the title hunt. So if he beats BSD, here's a fun scenario. He beats BSD, and then Gaethje fights either Ely or Armin, and then in the meantime, what if Dan fights, say, Paddy Pimblett?
It's got to be, right?
Dude, the winner, if that happened, the winner of Paddy and Dan, I think, will be next in line, and it would be a massive, massive fight. So like with 1 or 2 wins, Dan's back in that title
Yeah,
picture.
and
Wait.
don't forget Conor McGregor sweepstakes as well. You go out
Yeah.
there, you beat, and you know Conor
Yeah.
really likes Dan as well. So
Yeah, I mean, as Dan himself has said, you can't kill a weed. Every time this guy seems to be about done, he finds a way back to the relevant of a high level.
The best, most beloved weed in the UFC.
Indeed.
Our weed.
And to Casper's point, I think this is actually a really pivotal fight for him, right? New generation, Paramount Plus. He gets through here. Paddy Pimblett's a huge fight, right? Like, it's going to be really good for him if he could pick up a win here. He can really have some huge fights.
And obviously, look, we're about as biased as you can be in this game, but I still think like he's really come into his own. Like everything he does seems to be clicking with fans. People are starting to like get, oh, he's an arsehole, but he's our arsehole,
Yeah.
a bit like Bisping back in the day. So
Yeah,
it's like
good comparison.
all he needs is like the right win at the right time, and he's like so relevant. And he really could be this generation's Bisping, as opposed to let's say this generation's Cerrone, which I'm starting to see people call him. But it's funny you talked about all the fights he's had, like Arman, Gamrot. Who was on before? I forget. But like, they're all guys know. All the guys no one wants to fight. It's
Yeah.
who he ends up fighting.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's why the UFC value him. Like he's already calling his shot that when he's lying in the hospital bed, we're all rooting for him. We could go through the rest of the card.
I think like no, we could not.
I think it is
like,
hot.
Him and Alex Volkanovski both have these similar things where like they never pick their fights and they just fight whoever's in front of them. I
Yeah.
think like even back to the Lopez fight, it's kind of made Volkanovski even more endearing to the fans. 'Cause,
Yeah.
like, everybody complained, including us, but Alex never did. He's just like whatever, man. He just takes the next fight, and in a time where there's so much politicking and spot sitting and like I want the money fights and this and that. Alex is just like, yeah, dude, whatever, man. I'll fight the next guy,
Yeah.
and I think it's gone his favor. And Dan's the same way. Dan's just like, don't threaten me with a good time, boys.
Yeah.
And then we get these mad wars.
And look at Patchy Mix. He could barely stay in the UFC for 2 fights. This guy's been at the top of the division.
Poor Patchy getting shots.
Dude, no, but it's legit. And I feel like now the UFC is all about big names and personalities like Dan. So it's good to see him get this opportunity towards the end of his career. They don't really care about titles that much anymore. So BMF title as well.
Guys, thank you very much for joining me. It is officially, we have a day off today here in Australia, so it's officially time for the pub crawl that I've been desiring.
Can I quickly plug something before we wrap up? You have a way bigger audience than me on Submission Radio. After the fights, it's going to be really, really special. Me and Casper are going to come together, react to the fights, have a little bit of a chat. So,
And Oscar, right?
well, me and Casper, then Oscar could come in after that. So I know you guys have been waiting for Casper to have a chat with me, man. I reckon it's going to be perfect.
You actually did plug something. I thought he was joking.
Make sure to check it out, brother. Same channel, same Submission Radio channel.
That's unbelievable.
Reunion, come on, man.
Yeah.
Promo. Let's go. This is the biggest channel in MMA. I got to make it.
Am I going to watch you cut this on social as well? Do you just edit me out?
Most definitely.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's a lot of work.
If you're in there, I'll just put you and Casper in there, get more views.
Ah,
Let's go now. My planet needs me.
thank you, boys.